Hi, this is Casey. I'm pastor of congregational care here at Antrim. It's good to be with you here on this first week in Advent. This is what we hope is a series the next few weeks of talking about some of these big themes in Advent of hope, of love, joy. I'd like to speak a little bit about hope today, in which we started that a bit this past Sunday. But as a pastor, I speak to a lot of people going through a lot of difficult things. So people often are talking about hope, maintaining hope. One of my desires as a pastor is to help them maintain hope in God as part of that. I found that there's a lot of people that have a lot of ideas on what it means to be hopeful. So I'm curious what Christ's hope is all about. Just recently, I was reading some helpful things by a psychiatrist who wasn't just any psychiatrist. His name was Viktor Frankl, and he was a concentration camp survivor. So while he was in the camp, he also was a trained psychiatrist. So in his mind, he was taking notes on what maintained hope in some prisoners and why did some give up hope. So after the war, he took to the task of trying to describe what he had learned through very hard things to help the world. So here's a few ideas of what he said. First, he said, human beings keep hope by looking to the future. That humans have a peculiar way of not just focusing on the future, but we look or to the present, but we also look to the future. He said also it's important to figure out the mission, your work, whatever your reason for living for. Take responsibility to find the right answer to life's problems, so to speak. Have a purpose, fulfill it. He also said it helps if you have responsibility to another person. So you're going through a difficult thing. A man who has responsibility toward another human being, he knows the why for his existence. He's likely to persevere. So to summarize, he says, look to the future, figure out your mission. It helps if you have someone else depending on you. And that all sounds very decent. Some of that probably even has elements of truth, but I think a lot of those kind of just fall short. That's a very secular psychological way of looking at things. But all of those also, I think, are based on our ability to make sense of things, or they require us to find our meaning. What if we can't do that? What if we can't understand? If everything in us screams, whatever this crisis, this trauma, this death, this car accident, there's no sense in it, there's no purpose in life, I give up. Jesus said he came to give us rest and to give us hope and to hold on to the fact that God's the one who's prepared a future and a hope for you. Some of that in this life and then completely in eternity to come. A lot of that too, I think there's also largely a focus on us figuring out some job we have to do. Jesus had a lot to say about avoiding the hustle and the bustle and over planning and clinging to your plans for your life, but to sit back and find rest in the fact that God is working out a meaningful future for you. And it is true. We do have big responsibility to other people as Christians, but God also took responsibility for us in our biggest needs, forgiveness and cleansing of sin, reuniting us with the Father, grafting us into the family of God. Jesus was a central way God did all of that, provided for all of those things. He didn't come just as a messenger, but to be the message, to be the avenue, so to speak, God used to bring hope to the world. And God brought all of those high and lofty and amazing truths through a very small and feeble human package, not because God is weak, but I think to show us in a very special way that He understands our weakness. He wants to give us hope that lasts longer than our ability to make sense of the horrible griefs and traumas that life tends to throw at us. Hope is Christ saying, hold on, life will not always be this way. I, Jesus, have a future for you. Hope can look like this. For Matthew 11, Jesus said, all things have been handed over to me by my Father, and no one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and anyone to whom the Son chooses to reveal him. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart. Then you will find rest for your souls. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. Well, I pray that you find hope in God, in the future He has for you, in the promise that He has a future for you, even when you can't see it. All of this because of what Jesus is doing. Have a wonderful season as we await His coming together.